let's go ahead and get started. So PowerShell 7.2 Preview 3 came out 2 days ago, which was 2/16. This marks the first release with .NET 6, specifically Preview 1. Steve, did you have anything else you wanted to add about this build other than that everybody should upgrade to it?
Yeah, I was gonna maybe, since we don't have a large agenda, I was gonna maybe do a quick demo of the progress bar.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
So let me share. Let's see. Let's go with. Make sure. Oh, dang it. All right.
Just don't end.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm not Jason.
Hey.
All right. Let's see. All right. Let me fix a little bit bigger. All right, that should be plenty big. All right. So. Yeah. So I'm using 7.2 Preview 3 here. Let me just check whether I made a change here. I did. Okay, so let me do this. Let's open a new one, start from scratch. All right, so one of the changes that was made in the Preview 3 was just to kind of see what it would be like to maybe what I think of as improving the progress bar. Improve here means really not render as many characters as unnecessary, because people may not realize this, but you're really on the same thread because it's the main thread for the terminal and the console and the run space that is doing the rendering and the operation. So the more you render, the slower the actual operation will take. We've already had some improvements since PowerShell Core 6 time, where we don't render every time a command updates progress, but I think it still can be improved. So let me just run my sample. Actually, I'll show you what is in here first. So this is just a simple PowerShell script that does several write progress. There's like a child one and there's like a sibling one. And I use this to kind of test whether or not I did it right, so that as objects are emitted, progress is still shown correctly. So I'll just run this real quick. And you kind of see, like, you know, it's outputting like 100 objects, very simple objects. And it's kind of showing from 0 to 100 for both the siblings. And of course, the child one is going much faster because it's not doing anything. It's almost done. And then let me just go to my downloads folder. Invoke web request. So I'll just download this one. And because invoke web request doesn't have %complete, because it doesn't know the size of the object, it just outputs the size as it's downloading. But expand archive does have a sense of the size of the archive, so you can kind of see that the main change is really leveraging the ANSI inverse character as a way to take up less space on your screen to show both the status of the progress as well as 0 to 100. And if there was time left, it would be showing up on the right side here of this bar, which I don't have here, but was in the previous demo thing. I'm not going to let this finish. But the one thing I didn't really mention, like in my tweet that much, is based on feedback from the community, we made this more customizable. So for example, right now, I personally think it's more optimal to have it not render all the way across the screen. But if people prefer that, because again, it takes more time to do the rendering, you could do max width equals, you know, some large number, or you can do like int max value would also work. And basically now if I do expand archive again, then it's going to take up the full width. But again, what you're not really seeing is that the way the progress rendering works in PowerShell is that it's rewriting this whole width with every update. So it's not just updating what it knows has changed, because the command that could update the status information dynamically, there could be child progress bars that pop up and disappear, stuff like that. So it doesn't have that intelligence. So it's going to take more time to render. The other thing, once this gets back, is that if you prefer the old style, view, you can do full. Or what did I call it? I didn't call it full. Classic. It was full before. Someone suggested classic was a better name. And then if I just do my old test here, and again, this is going to be different on Windows versus I'm on Mac OS here. You kind of see it's not that great, but you get the old style where it has a lot more rendering. And you can already see that's running much slower. The other thing I just want to show is that you can also customize the coloring. And here I'm going to use PS style itself to say, because I don't want to memorize all the ANSI escape sequences. You can do forward, cyan color, and I'll make it bold. And in this case, I'll also make it italic. And now if I run this, but I have to change this view to minimal. And if I find this thing again, then you kind of see like my changes took place. Now italics here doesn't really make it look nice, but this is for demo purposes. So you get the gist of how that works. So that's kind of one of the main or the new experimental feature that we have in preview 3. I don't believe any other experimental features popped up. Or well, we do have the DSC stuff, which I'm not prepared to talk about today. It's still work in progress. I think everything else was already there previously that hadn't made it out of experimental yet. Yeah, I think that kind of covers it.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Getting the info pulled back up here. So this is, and thank you for that demo. Very cool stuff. Definitely glad to see consistent progress bar behavior across all the platforms, and certainly something that's performant and customizable is great.
So actually, do you mind? There's a couple of questions that popped up specifically around.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. No, please.
Let me see. So one was regarding transcript. So this is the way this progress bar rendering works is no different from how progress gets shown up in transcript today. So there's no change there at all. There's a question about dynamic width, so it only takes as much as the message. Again, it could be done. It's going to require basically to do anything that's more intelligent is a huge refactoring of the existing progress rendering code, which was not the intent of changing how it looks. So that could be something that could be done separately, and that could help all the different views, which of course we have the two right now, the min one and the classic. And I think there's another question. Is there a way to get the progress bar back to the top of the page? So this is specifically on Windows, because this doesn't work on non-Windows, because on non-Windows, you can't read the console screen buffer because you can kind of think of it as a security boundary. You don't want some other tool to output previous information and then you grab it. But on Windows, you can do that. So with this change, one of the things I want to do was actually to have consistency in how progress is rendered across Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So in that case, you don't get the style that's on top. If that's something that you guys really want, just open an issue and we can discuss it with the community. And then let's see, Windows terminal bar. Let's see if I can cursor bring on so I can. So hiding the cursor is something that could be looked at. There was a problem that had to be fixed where in CI, because output is rerouted or redirected, that you can actually change the cursor because it doesn't exist, and that was causing a problem. So I think that could be done. You have to add a little bit of intelligence to make sure it eventually pops back on. I encourage Keith, maybe you can submit that PR. All right, I think that's probably.
Steve, I've got a quick question for you. If you
can. Sure.
Similar to Ryan, I'm curious, how does it look actually in a PowerShell notebook if you run this progress bar? Does it look better than what it currently looks like when you have a progress bar?
That's a good question. I don't actually remember what the one in the notebook looks like right now, because the progress rendering is handled by the host. So in this case, I think Notebook has its own bar, so I don't think this changes that at all.
I have an example I will send you.
Okay. And then there was also a question about write progress with new parameters. There's no changes to write progress commandlet at all.
And again, this is an experimental feature that should not have to be turned on because this is a preview build, but is potentially may need to be based on whether or not you've mucked with your experimental features in the past. So do make sure you're checking out get experimental feature to see if that is indeed enabled. I can speak to the DSC stuff real quick, Steve, if you're okay with that.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I think we've we've communicated this within RFCs as well. We're being very explicit that this work is primarily to support some internal Azure scenarios, or not necessarily internal, but external customer-facing scenarios, things that Azure services that we work with need in order to support DSC with PowerShell 7. What this does not include today is a local configuration manager or any kind of pull server setup, as well as the ability to execute a configuration. So all of those things are currently off the table because we don't have, in the Windows PowerShell world, you had this local configuration manager that acts as an orchestrator that's essentially, doing dependency resolution for you and taking, configs from a pull server and reconciling that with an existing state. In this case, we really are just trying to expose the functionality to existing DSC resources. So we enabled get DSC resource and invoke DSC resource. This latter one does not take a MOF file or configuration, but takes a property bag of settings on a per resource basis. So you need some kind of other orchestration to come in to actually know when to run the tests, the sets, and the gets that are inside of these DSC resources, and how those property bags are getting passed in. We also support configuration compilation. So this is the ability to generate a MOF file. This is not currently guaranteed to stick around forever, particularly because that generated MOF file is not particularly useful to DSC on the PowerShell 7 today. So this functionality is out there. If you're someone who absolutely needs an LCM for some reason, I'd love to talk to you, particularly for PowerShell 7. We don't have really a lot of concrete scenarios out there of people saying, hey, we need orchestration taken care of end to end from PowerShell 7 using these DSC resources cross-platform. But this is something where, a ton of work's been done in DSC resources, and we want to expose that work to folks that are doing their own kind of orchestration. So again, if you're interested here, check it out. Reach out to me or Steve on Twitter. Would love to talk to you more on what's happening here. I do want to point out that we have a PowerShell RFC for this. It should still be open, I think, Steve.
I don't recall.
There we go. November 9th. Yeah, so check this one out as well if this ever loads. This is the RFC explaining all of the scoping of the work that we've done so far, and is, I believe, fairly up to date. So,
Joey, are you sharing your screen, or do you think you're sharing?
I think I'm sharing my screen. I have a thick red border around my screen right now, and
I don't see it.
I think it's you. I'm looking at the red one inside of the live event right now. Okay. Can anybody +1 whether my screen can be seen?
I see it.
Okay. Maybe I'll rejoin.
Okay. But yeah, so this is the DSC for PowerShell 7, and check this RFC out. I'm pasting in the notes. We have an awesome new announcement today from Sean and Jason, among others. Guys, do you want to hop in and just start taking over here?
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to share some exciting news, and first of all, I'm not going to tragically end the meeting short. At least that's the hope. So many of you know the scripting blog with all the Hey Scripting Guys posts. What a massive help to the community and certainly to myself. Well, a few years ago, many of you know that the last scripting guy retired, Ed Wilson, and we miss him. But since then, community member and Microsoft employee Sean Kearney, many of you know Sean, has been keeping the lights on and has been doing a fantastic job. But one of the things that we've noticed over time is that the site has been getting fewer posts, and that's really not helping the community learn and grow. So it really needs some love. Well, we ran across a really fortunate opportunity, just kind of landed in our laps at the beginning of the year. Thanks to Thomas Lee, and I want to give a huge shout out to Thomas Lee for getting the ball rolling on this. He reached out to Sean and myself to offer his time to help revitalize and contribute even new articles to the scripting blog and update some of the more popular older ones with some of the new technology that we've created with PowerShell 7. Well, we were thinking about this great opportunity, and along with some of the other partners here at Microsoft, and we talked to some of the community members, we thought that this might be a great time to not only revitalize the scripting blog, but make a new scripting blog with a couple of goals out of it. One, and most importantly, we want it focused on PowerShell, right? I mean, as the community, we learned so much from PowerShell, and we learned so much from each other, and what a great place to be able to put up examples of the work that we're doing and the solutions that we found. So we really wanted it to focus on PowerShell, and also we wanted to redesign it so that it was, well, better for the community, that it was easier for them to make contributions. So we've put this whole process into GitHub. Now, the big benefit to this is, besides making it a little bit easier for Sean Kearney and some of us to be able to manage that, is that if you are new to GitHub, well, you can contribute and even help edit here safely and learn great GitHub skills, and then take those skills and apply them to helping out with the PowerShell docs, or even better, going right to the PowerShell repo itself and contributing to the PowerShell product. Basically, we want everyone to have a voice in all of this. So here's really the announcement. The original scripting blog is retiring, but wait, it's still going to remain intact and available to you at the same location with all those valuable comments and conversations, but we are going to launch a new site. So kind of excuse our dust. And Sean, I noticed you're bringing it up. Sean, you want to, as I post the new AKA MS link and invite everybody, would you like to take a quick tour on the site?
Yeah, so here's the new blog and our announcement. And some of you may have already seen the tweets that have gone out about this. And the big difference here is with this blog, you know, in the old blog, Ed was getting input from the community, and he would post blog articles from public contributors, but it all went through one person. The big thing we're changing in this new format is now you can contribute directly. And so we have a page here that tells you how to get started. And the first thing is creating your WordPress account and setting up your profile. And then all of the submissions are handled through our GitHub repo. And so here we have in GitHub/PowerShell/community-blog is the repo for this, and you can create new posts here and submit them as a PR. And we've got some basic instructions right here in the README, and then more detailed instructions in the wiki. So if you go over to the wiki, you've got the same information here about setting up your WordPress account, how to create your new post, a cheat sheet here for Markdown, the things you need to know, and some of the things that are specific to the blogging platform. And then finally, how to submit the PR. And I'll be adding some more documentation here about the process, workflow, and such. But the idea here is you submit the PR, we'll get it reviewed and approved. And once it's been merged, it'll automatically be copied to the WordPress platform that hosts our blog. And then the blog admins like Sean Kearney and myself will publish that. And we can even, if it's something that you want to schedule for a specific release time, we can manage that as well. And out in the issues, you can see Thomas has been busy. These are all of the blog posts from the old blog that he is planning on updating and publishing. So we have issue templates. If you want to suggest a new post idea or request something from the old blog, there's templates for that. If you find something wrong in an existing post, there's a template for that. So this gives you a place to ask your questions and submit your ideas. And if you're interested, even post your own articles.
And one last thing I'd kind of like to jump in and wrap up with is also, and I'm going to put this into the Q&A, we've also renamed the Twitter handle to PS Community. Everybody's that's been part of that is still a part of that, but to help kind of get the message out. And here's what I would ask your help with is if you could help us get the message out. And of course, if you could take the time and help to contribute. We really feel that with a strong community that can learn and grow together, as we've been doing over, well, the last 15 years, that's what drives us forward with PowerShell. And so we really can use your help and contributions and inspiration out there. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Really excited about this community blog, the opportunities that it offers for folks who have not had the sort of reach yet or experience with blogging today, but also just to get all this great stuff back into back into the public sphere from the Hey Scripting Guys blog, and the model that we had there was so awesome. I am dealing really quickly with just a little bit of technical difficulty on my back end with regards to making sure that everybody, all of our guest presenters are able to present today, but I also don't want to block the call up here. So I am going to, I think, go ahead and get started on the first community demo. I think we've got Aaron up first with a demo on PowerShell notebooks. Are you ready to go, Aaron?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and as soon as you hit share, I will add your content here to the, or it might just do it automatically.
Here in a second, let me know if you can see it.
I can. I think you're live.
All right, great. And I'm using a video because A, I wanted to keep on time, and B, as I suspected, I have a baby in my arms. So I'm going to play the video. It does have audio. If you guys can't hear the audio, let me know and I'll talk over it. So here it is.
FYI, I'm not getting any audio, Aaron.
Okay, great, thanks. So what I'm doing here is I've got a PowerShell notebook and I am using a function from Doug Fink called invoke execute notebook. And this notebook that I'm trying to run, it will build out a Docker container of SQL Server, and it will go ahead and restore download and restore an AdventureWorks database, and then bring it online and let me work with it. And what I'm doing with the invoke execute notebook is I am actually able to execute this notebook, but also pass in parameters. As you see on the bottom of the screen there, I'm passing in what you see test 9999. That turns out to be the SA password, just as an example. It's not real world. And then that SQL number down there, that is the port number that I end up listening on. And then I use that also as like to number the container up here, as you see. So what that does is allows me to take a generic notebook and pass in these parameters, just like calling a script or a function and passing them in. But it also, the invoke execute notebook is allowing me to not only execute all that, but it also clones the notebook for me at the very beginning. And then as it's running through and executing, it's actually executing the clone of the notebook with those parameters, and it's saving all the results back into the notebook with those, the results of whatever happened. And so it makes it so that I can now automate my notebooks without having to store secrets inside of them and be able to pass in parameters. That way I can keep them genericized and automate them. All right. there's any questions about that, happy to check them in the chat. Hopefully that that one makes sense. And then one more video, same thing. The same execute notebook. And what we have here is I've got a couple of Power BI reports, and I've got a notebook over here where it's a very, very simple notebook. Just being able to run some commands against my Power BI workspace. And the point here isn't so much about the fact that I'm working against a Power BI workspace. The fact is that I am working against some Azure resources, right? So I am in my PowerShell session in the console, I'm going ahead and connecting up, logging into Azure, and then I'm running some commands. First here right now, I'm running it just to show you, here are the results, right? But then once I have done that, and I've showed you that I'm now getting these results back, I'm going to, here in just a second in the video, I will use that same command, invoke execute notebook, and I'm going to execute the notebook that you see above, which is just 2 basic steps. But what it's going to do is it's going to execute using that connection that I've already established to run that. So I don't have to do the authentication inside the notebook or anything like that. I'm using the existing one. It then does the exact same mechanism where it clones the notebook, runs the commands, and then puts the commands, the results of those commands over into a copy of that notebook to show me the results. So there you go. There are the results in the clone of the notebook right there. So that's that one there. And that's it for the 2 demos I want to share. That's something I've been working on with Doug Fink since last summer, and wanted to get the, I love that stuff. I actually do use it with customer work, and just wanted to share it out there more broadly to let people know about it. It's a module out there called PowerShell Notebook to be able to do that. The same module can be used to convert PowerShell scripts to notebooks and notebooks down to PowerShell scripts. So in case you have something fancy and you see that it's in a notebook, but you need to convert it down to a PS1 script for whatever reason, you need to run it as a PS1. That's one of the commands that's available in this module out there. And I also put together a presentation heavily involving PowerShell notebooks and using a lot of the stuff in this module. And there's a video available for that on Doug's YouTube channel. So just wanted to make those resources known out there that you can get to them if people are interested in that. That's pretty much the bulk of what I had there. And just real quick, since I got the mic, the SQL Server module, if you know anyone who is working with SSAS commandlets, they're finally available as a preview in PowerShell 7. Finally.
Oh, that's huge. I had not heard that.
Yes, making progress. More progress to come in the not too far off future, but nothing to announce today. So there. And if anyone wants like the PowerShell notebook that I was doing with the how to build that SQL container or anything like that, that's up in my gist file. I can pop it in the chat if anyone wants that. And yeah, that's I think everything. Oh, and if anyone's trying to do automation with reporting services tools, or basically Power BI report server, I've added a lot more stuff so that you can do a DevOps pipeline to that. Not trying to self-promote, but just trying to let people know that that's now available out there, that you can really go end to end with it if you're in your deployment pipeline. So that's everything for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. Just quick FYI, the chat is not in public to attendees, so do make sure if you have anything to post, you either post it in the Q&A tab or actually directly in the issue that we're using to track the Q&A, where I can easily pick it up for the notes. Yeah, thank you so much. This was awesome. I did add into the notes here a link to your module, as well as the bit about the SAS commandlets. Yeah, just really, really exciting stuff. Notebooks, I think, are going to be huge. They're just starting to get some steam, but I really think that you're gonna, if you're not playing with notebooks already, you should definitely look into them, because I think as a UI and a UX, it's really just a total blending of all the ways people think, just out there on the page, where you're just sort of thinking, documenting, executing, and tweaking on the fly. It's really cool stuff. So definitely check that out.
There are teams that are using it that are just like they only do things through notebooks. So it's funny when you make that switch to someone where it's like, yeah, we're all notebooks. And it's like, wow, already?
Yeah, and I think you're going to see that more and more. I think folks just really love them. So, great.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Aaron. And just to sort of, I didn't frame these earlier, but we do want to start having more and more folks. Aaron is a Microsoft employee, but as well as folks from outside the company, outside the immediate PowerShell team, to join us here on the community call to deliver demos. We are having a couple hiccups in regards to just making sure everybody's in the call, given that we're using Teams for the live event here. But we'll iron these out over time. And if you have any ideas, I think, Steve, do we have a submission pipeline set up right now, or are we just saying to post inside the community call issue?
Yeah, I think we don't have anything defined. I mean, this is an experiment in itself, trying to see. I'd love to get community feedback if they want to see more of this, because I think we're trying to figure out how to make this more of a community call versus a PowerShell team blah 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 call. But
exactly.
I think what I would probably propose initially is we should probably just post the RFC issue earlier to solicit questions, but also see who wants to give a demo, and it'll probably be like a first come first serve kind of thing. And we probably, some cases, have too many that we'll have to cut off, and some days we may not have enough kind of thing. So it'll be a little more dynamic.
Yeah, I will say that we'll reserve the right to select whatever content at this point right now, given no specific selection criteria. So we've got time constraints and stuff we want to show and that sort of thing. But I think right now, as Steve said, if you're interested, and I am putting this in the notes, post in the Q&A thread on PowerShell RFC repo for each community call, for the community call you'd like to present in. Awesome. Excuse me. Okay. All right, so we've got another one here. We're going to move right on down. I don't know if we have Justin in yet, so we may have to skip really quick.
Yeah, I think we may have to hold Justin's demo for next time. We're having technical difficulties getting him as a presenter.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is a new checkbox that I didn't check because it scared me and I couldn't find any documentation on it that allows us to promote external folks as presenters in the midst of the call. So I'm hoping if we play around with that, it will fix us. But yeah, unfortunately, Justin does not currently have the right permissions. So we're going to hop over to Adam Driscoll, who's going to be demoing his TUI designer. Adam, can you hear us okay? You are currently muted. It does say, oh,
It says I can't unmute.
okay, mate. And there was a button. Now can you? Yay, we did it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I am going to show off a TUI designer that we built. Let's see.
You should have access to share buttons there.
All right,
And
can you see my screen?
nice. Yeah.
All right, cool. So what I'm going to be talking about a little bit today is terminal GUIs. So if you have seen the console GUI tools that the PowerShell team created, specifically out console grid view, it's using this project called terminal.GUI or GUI CS. And the idea with a terminal GUI is that it's using the terminal to actually generate the GUI rather than any kind of like platform specific UI library like Windows Forms or WPF or anything like that. So because of that, it works like cross-platform and it works in kind of anything that supports a standard terminal. So you can even do things like in the web browser, in Azure, Cloud Shell, that kind of thing. So there is this terminal GUI library available that has all kinds of different controls and that kind of thing for generating these UIs. And because it's a .NET library, what I actually did is I put together a big guide of how to build GUIs in PowerShell using GUI-CS. So it has all kinds of examples of how to get up and running, creating windows, various controls like buttons and checkboxes. And then I even go into some of the basics of layout and sizing. So, how to position controls, how to have them take up particular portions of the screen, that kind of thing. And I took it to the next level and actually created a terminal designer, which I'm going to show off now. So this is actually a GUI CS project that's written in C# that allows you to generate GUIs kind of in a visual way inside the terminal. So you can actually double click these items in the toolbox in the top left there, and it's going to add those particular elements to kind of this designer view on the right hand side. Then you can like drag them around, and it's going to actually update the positioning. You can actually see down in the control view here, it's kind of outputting where this is positioned. So this is using static positioning, but you could do things like lining controls up against each other and that kind of thing. And then you can like select from these controls, and it's just going to keep adding controls to the kind of designer view, and then you'll have a list of those controls in the bottom left. If you select a control, either in the controls view or on the right-hand side here, it's going to pop up the properties for it. So then you can just edit the properties for that guy. So I could say, hello world, and then it's actually editing the text for that particular button. And then once I have like my GUI the way I want it, what I can do is I can click File, Save. I'm going to select in this 2e.ps1 file and save that. And now if I actually go over and pop into VS Code, what you're going to see is that it's generated a bunch of PowerShell script to create this UI. So this is very similar to like what Windows Forms PowerShell script kind of look like, where you create a new object, store it in a variable, set a bunch of properties on it, and then and the way that GUI CS works is you have pretty much what they call views or controls, and then those controls can have child controls. So we create a window, and then we're adding our various controls to that window. So this is the button, this is the label. You can update these IDs and stuff like that inside of the designer. And then when you want to actually go ahead and run your GUI, what you're going to do is you can import the console GUI tools module, and then actually load the terminal GUI.dll, which is included in that console GUI tools module. Then we need to initialize the application, run our 2e.ps1 file that was generated by the designer, and then we're going to add that window to the top level application view, and pretty much run the application. One other thing that I did do here is I actually added an on-click event handler. So we're just using the add clicked method here to assign a script block to the clicked method. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a message box with the text hello in it. So if I come over to a command prompt now, and I am going to go to my desktop and run this run.ps1 script. What you're going to see here is we have the window created, and if I click this Hello World button, it's actually going to pop up that message box. So I kind of created my first little GUI here. So there's all kinds of things you can do with GUI CS in terms of layout and all different kinds of event handlers and threading and that kind of thing to actually kind of create some pretty rich UIs using PowerShell script. So there are some limitations. One of the biggest ones that I've found is that the new terminal does not work with this. It'll actually display the GUI, but things like click handlers don't work, so I can't actually click that button from Windows terminal. But command prompt still works just fine. So that is kind of my demo of PowerShell GUIs. It's just really scratching the surface, and I'd say go out and play with the designer, or check out my blog post on how to get started with PowerShell GUIs, because you can do a lot with them.
Thank you so much, Adam. These are really cool. Yeah, the meta nature here of GUI CS being used to build an application that helps you generate GUI.cs UIs is pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Fun project.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love if you wouldn't mind just dropping a link either in the Q&A or in the GitHub issue tracking all the stuff for this call, so I can just pop it in the notes to your blog there.
Okay.
Yeah, people should definitely check this out. Also, hopefully you have a conduit to the Windows Terminal team that they know that those issues exist.
Yeah, there's an issue actually open on their
Great.
GitHub repo for that specific thing. So
awesome. Yeah, I'm sure those guys are awesome. They're just knocking down issue after issue. I'm sure that they will get to it when they get to it, because it's they're just force of nature right now.
oh yeah, cool.
Let me just add one thing real quick. Like I'm personally very excited about console GUIs coming back in fashion, primarily because you can use them in a lot of places where like WinForms or a web page doesn't make sense. So you can use it like in Cloud Shell, you can use it in a VS Code terminal, you can use it over SSH. So for me, it's just much more versatile to stay in a terminal personally. So.
Yeah, totally agreed. I go way back to all the the ncurses UIs when we used to run every mail client, chat client, everything was just inside. I mean, links text-based browser and stuff. It's like you could do a lot from just the terminal. It's very fun. So I'm excited for those to really be more accessible to PowerShell folks, because I think in the past it was sort of more of a custom one-off thing. So yeah, this is really awesome. Steve, we didn't have any luck with Justin, did we?
No, I think we'll just have to hold his demo for next time, unfortunately.
Okay. So we do have about 15 minutes left. I did want to address, thank you so much, Adam. I will go ahead and post this in the notes. So there was just the only question here for the Q&A, and please folks do come and pre-populate these questions. We are doing a better job of getting these ones opened up. Oh, we didn't this time, I see. That's why. I thought we had this one open a week ago for some reason. But we will have these up, so please post your questions here. This is a totally good suggestion here, which is just, hey, we should really feature the community call more prominently across all the repos, and really get the timing, the timing right there. So in the past we tried to use this ICS file because I wanted to be a little bit more malleable with the time, but we've had 3 years now of community calls, 9:30 on the third Thursday. So I think you're right here, Corbob. Steve, did you see anything that popped out in the Q&A here?
The only question I see, and this is probably for you, why not move to a normal Teams meeting?
Because we would have to add every single person to the tenant, or at least that was true prior when we first started this call. If that's no longer true, if I can allow external folks that are totally arbitrary and did not give me their email ahead of time so that I could add them into some sort of allow list, then I would love to move to a meeting. But as far as I understand, that is still a requirement of Teams meetings and is not something that I really want to manage from a standpoint of, I mean, I know it's theoretically automatable, but like even just having a giant list of email addresses as PII is not something I necessarily want to sign up for. Is anyone responding to the effect that not true anymore? Perfect. All right, somebody send me the doc and we will we'll look into it. The great thing is that that AKMS link is always join PS call is always the one. So someone says they can hardly hear me all of a sudden. Is anyone else having that issue? Am I coming
Sound
through
fine
okay?
to me.
Okay.
I'm fine over here.
Okay. So yeah, I would love to do that if it works. It was purely this requirement before of like, I don't want to take 50 emails and and then people get locked out because they didn't know they had to email me ahead of time and that sort of thing. So but But these are all, oh yes, the PS community blog. Definitely check out that Twitter handle. Jason answered this one. That would be really sweet to have executable code blocks on the new one. Maybe something integrated with PowerShell or some sort of notebooks host. That would be awesome.
I think the problem, like I would love to see that. I think the problem is who's going to pay for the compute time to have a container in the back. I think more realistically, like I know that there was a PR as a proof of concept to support PowerShell and WebAssembly. So that might be something we could explore because now, you know, you just run it in your browser.
Yeah, but I would argue that we've already crossed that chasm when it comes to you know, funding CloudShell as a free service for everybody. So you know, I mean, yeah, we could theoretically do WebAssembly, but I suspect that a bunch of the tools and interesting stuff that people are looking at in that blog are gonna be specific to certain modules or that sort of thing. So I don't know. We should just look into it. We should look into it. I can. The PM for CloudShell is on my team, so we can find out if this is possible.
And I'm listening in. So
oh, there he is. Yes,
let me
awesome.
dig into it, and I'll let you guys know.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Danny. Did you see this one about a flashing cursor, Steve, with your?
Yeah. I was my ask is for Keith to maybe submit a PR.
Oh, that's right. That was about that one. Got it. For systems that we've set to install and update via Microsoft Store with the Microsoft Store, also handle the .NET installation as dependency. Yes, the answer is yes. So in this case, .NET is actually shipped as part of PowerShell itself. This has been the case since PowerShell Core 6. So if you grab PowerShell, we include everything that it needs as part of that package, with the exception of the .NET Global tool, which requires a .NET SDK in order to install, and then uses that SDK as its runtime for .NET. So yeah, if you haven't already, do check out the Microsoft Store. There is a PowerShell and PowerShell preview inside of this guy. And you know, I'd love to find out if this is helping you at scale deploy PowerShell to especially your Windows 10 machines in your environment, whether those are dev boxes or customer machines that you're using PowerShell 7 as an agent. But we do have both of these. You know, if we pop over to PowerShell preview, for instance, you can see that I would hope at least that we are updated to. Where's the version info? I could have sworn this is on here somewhere.
It's somewhere.
Well,
it's always hard to find.
Change log right here anyway, so we're good. Yeah.
These are the latest versions. I always have a hard time finding where the store puts the actual version information.
I could have sworn it's on here. Is it there? No. Is it not any of there? Okay. Anyway, it works. It's great. You should pick it up from here. You know, there are still some caveats with the store-based installation, but as you can see, this is a first-class citizen for us now, and we update this as soon as any updates go out. So definitely check that out. I did see 6 new incoming questions. You can open up to guests, but you are limited to 250. That's good information. The RTP SUG does a pretty large normal teams. I would get with them to find out how they manage it. Definitely will. Thank you, Justin. Totally random off-topic question, but is it generally more performant to use .NET ways of doing things in PowerShell? Yes, what Dongbo said here is accurate, that there are cases where something could be much faster. Those are usually well understood. Oh, and Dongbo, just FYI, if you publish before you respond, then everybody gets to see your response here. But yeah, in a lot of cases, like new GUID versus new GUID, for instance, like it's going to be so negligible that it really shouldn't matter, and you should just use the command line. But maybe you benchmark, oh, you're generating 10 million GUIDs or something, and you realize you can, you know, save a 100th of a second per GUID or something like that. Maybe it's worth it to you. But generally speaking, you know, if you're seeing big performance disparities here and you don't understand why, you should file an issue to let us know, because it might be something in the commandlet that's doing something wonky. Cool. Any update on PS Get v3? I think I have Sydney on the call. Sydney, do you
Yep.
want to give an update there?
Sure. So the general update is after spending a few months really focusing our efforts around PowerShell Gallery following the outage we had in late October, we are back actively working on PowerShell Get 3.0. I am hoping to get out a roadmap blog in the next few weeks to kind of get an more well-rounded update as to where we are with the project. That being said, our current timeline is to hopefully get out some sort of next preview release in March, and currently targeting late spring, early summer to begin shipping in PowerShell 7.2 previews, and mid to late summer GA. So yeah, basic update is we are working on the project very actively right now and look forward to preview releases kind of picking back up in the coming weeks.
Let me just piggyback on that real quick and mention that Joey and I are working on a roadmap blog all up for PowerShell team, and I'm hoping we can get it out this month.
Yes, I was just about to say that. Oh, I'm gonna have to cut another frame. Just about to say that yeah, we're trying to crank that one out. You know, this is sort of our, hey, here's all the work we're doing for the next 6 to 9 months, kind of in the 7.2 time frame sort of blog. So you know, a lot of different stuff, and you'll see more, I think, kind of explode out blogs like Sydney's around PowerShell Get 3 that happen right after that one. But yeah, we've been catching up on some of our automation a little bit, some of our internal compliance stuff, as Sydney said. You know, a lot of things around PowerShell Gallery, for instance, where we had this outage in October and needed to make sure we you know, cleaned up and mitigated some of the things that we learned as a result of that outage. And there's some of that happening in other places as well. We sort of take a breather a little bit after a GA to you know, sort of get the house in order. So I think folks are going to be excited about all the things we have coming down the pipeline, and we are, you know, getting really back into the meat and potatoes of the good feature work here. So cool. We do have 4 minutes left. I'm going to double check on the Q&A one more time. Oh, how about the next RC release on secret management, Sydney, with our 4 minutes left?
Yes, so I would expect the next RC release to happen probably the first week in March, so not next week, but the following week. For those of you who may not be aware, we did have an RC release in January based on quite a lot of customer feedback, especially around both developers as well as internal discussion. We decided that we wanted to add secret metadata as a feature of the module before we hit the GA release. So that feature has been added and will be released in the upcoming RC. Based on the feedback in that RC, we are really hoping that we'll be able to have a GA in the weeks that follow.
Awesome. Yeah, for those that haven't checked out secret management yet, now is your time. You know, these release candidates, we just make sure that everything's good to go before we GA. So check it out. A lot of that code is going to be just like it ships out in GA. So we yeah, let us know what you think. Awesome.
Joey.
I'm looking back. Oh, would like to see PS Get v3 have support for NuGet package dependencies at GA or as a first feature release. I do not think that that's currently planned for GA, but it's definitely something that I know that Sydney you've looked at in the past, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So currently that won't be in the GA timeframe, but is definitely one of the top feature requests that we're considering for 3.1.
Let me just kind of set expectations for, I think, what we're targeting the 3.0 release to be. It's really going to be a replacement for V2. So that means that it will be a platform we can build on and get all these other new interesting features and scenarios enabled probably in the 3.1, 3.2 timeframe. It's been a huge amount of work just to basically, it's a complete rewrite of PowerShell Get, so not a small item.
Yeah, and I know there were some folks on the call that were, maybe suggested against a total rewrite when we first started, but I think this is sort of proven as we've gone through it just how necessary this is, given how esoteric some of the old PowerShell get behavior was. And after this is out, we really do also want to look at, hey, what are we going to do about Windows, which is sort of languishing on a very old version of PowerShell Get 2. What do we want to set as the defaults for everything? There's a lot of questions that we still have to answer once we have a proper baseline of replacing B2 with something that's performant and stable and has an architecture that we can continue to expand on. So yeah, bear with us. We appreciate it, and we're looking forward to PS Get 3 release as well.
Hey, Joey,
awesome. Yeah.
I was just looking over your notes, and that PowerShell notebook module I was demoing today, that's actually Doug Fink's module, and I wanted to give him proper credit on that.
For sure.
And he and James O'Neill are the major contributors there. I'm just a minor contributor. So
yeah, definitely. I didn't mean to imply that this was your module necessarily, but I think that's a great call out, and yeah, we always want to give credit where credit's due. So thank you, Aaron. Awesome. We are at time here. I want to thank everybody who was able to join today. We will have notes and recording up per usual. I will look into making this a Teams meeting for next time. Hopefully that's a seamless transition for folks that can just click join PS call. We do have the 250 limit, but I don't think we're hitting that one right now. So, we will we'll look into that, and if that's what makes sense, then we should do that. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your February. Stay safe out there, and we will see you next time.